All right. What's going on, our good people? Welcome back to Get Your Mind Right with Yogi and Shamar. You know, we appreciate all the love and support that we received from the first episode. Hope you continue with us on this journey as we tap into different conversations and just different things to talk about that impacts not just you, but the world beyond. Especially in the hip hop world, in the world and the communities that we all work within. I know you know that song, some of y'all, and it was California, because next week where we headed, Miss Yogi?
Cali.
That's where we're going to California. We're going to be at Cal State University doing our thing in front of the many people, talking about what we love talking about, right? Hip hop therapy, and able to use music and therapy as one, as a connector, right? Music as that conduit to having these conversations about mental health. I'm really excited about it. We got our outfits ready, right?
You already know we got, we got personalized sneakers. Sneaker game got to be tight, as you know.
That's right. So, you know, next week, I guess next Wednesday evening, we're headed out. We'll be doing our thing on that Thursday, and we'll be in California for a few days, you know.
Yeah. So make sure y'all check us out on social media so y'all don't miss none of it.
Yes. So it's funny, right? As we was creating this episode and we were speaking, one of the things we spoke about is, you know, we're going to a different venue, a different state, and Yogi and I, we've traveled throughout New York State doing the work that we do, right? But this is different, right? This
is a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, a little uncomfortable, right? But we do what we do, and it gave us that, you know, the idea of the topic of being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that is an uncomfortable conversation for many of us, right? Stepping out of that comfort zone, doing something different, because as we know, the definition of insanity is what?
Doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results.
That is absolutely correct. So us going out here and doing this is definitely something different, but we know that this will create opportunities in the work that we do. And like I said, it brings up that conversation of, are you doing things differently? You know, we often, you know, we have many of us that we go to the same jobs, we're in the same relationships, we complain about it all the time, but we don't do anything about it, right?
Right.
And that's insanity in the sense that if you're going to complain about it but not do anything about it, maybe we shouldn't really talk about it as much, right? Without action. And sometimes people will say, well, you know, I'm comfortable in my job, I'm comfortable in my relationship, but it doesn't mean that you can't change it. It doesn't mean that you can't do something different. And in order to do something different, you got to step out of that comfort zone. You got to put yourself in situations that allow you to grow. And it challenges you. We challenge ourselves all the time, right? People, when there's mega millions and Powerball is worth $1 billion, we go spend $30, $40, $50, sometimes several $100, right? I'm over here spending $2 because I ain't trying to spend all that money. But we take gambles and we bet on those different things. But how many times do we actually bet on ourselves? We don't really bet on ourselves, right?
Right. I don't think we bet on ourselves. I think we get so caught up in judgment of others or the perception of others that it's hard for us to break our everyday cycle, right? But that everyday cycle also gets exhausting and tiring. So I think that there's a lot in being able to put yourself in situations that are different and exploring different things and, you know, talking to people that you normally might not speak to and, you know, reaching out to doing different things. And, you know, even though what you've been doing, I know people say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But right, when does that repetitive gets tiring, right? When do you start sounding like a robot from doing it the same? And as two people in education, right, even thinking about education, right, everything has changed in our worlds. The cars, we got upgraded. We came from what? For Flintstone cars? Am I making that up? Right?
You really showing your age. She's
Coming from like, you know, these vehicles and now, right, roll downs. Now we got like computer screens in our cars. We're like exploring electric cars. Telephones have changed. We came from like rotary to cell phones. You can change all those things, but really the concept of education has remained the same.
You're absolutely right, and that's so great about the work that we do, because we're able to educate our young people and also those that we work with, but we do it through the lens of music, right? And in social work school 101, the one basic message that you're taught in the beginning is meet clients, meet people where they're at. And if we want to be the change, if we want to see the change, we have to be the change that we want to see. We actually have to be able not just to speak it, but model this work. Our young people don't learn the same. You know, when we was growing up and even years beyond before that, you know, you go to class, you know, students would sit there and learn, right? They sit there, they were forced to learn in a sense where that you fold your hands and you just listen to whatever, you know, you listen to what the instructor was telling you. But there's so many different challenges that our young people face, right? Even as adults, we're overstimulated in society. If you turn on the news, you have 1,000 things going on at the bottom of the screen, right? But then you also have this one person that's talking, so our brains are always overstimulated. So we have to learn how to be creative. I always admire and I appreciate when I walk past a classroom and I see students sitting in circles, meaning sitting at a desk, helping each other out, supporting each other, right? That's not traditional, right? That's something different, that's innovative, that's creative. And for some people, that's uncomfortable because it does go away from the norm. It does go away from that traditional teaching style. Allowing your students to disagree with you, it's okay. Right? And these are messages not just for our students, but for adults, right? We don't have to agree with each other, and if we don't agree with each other, it doesn't mean that we still can't have an effective conversation. It's not your job to convince me to see your point. It's about listening. It's about respecting, and I can hear your point and still not agree with it, and it's okay. I'm not going to walk away saying, oh, that person doesn't know what they're saying. It's just a different point of view. It's a different perspective, and I think our world would be in a better place, in a different place, if we was able to start listening for people, for like genuinely listening to people as opposed to just listening to respond, because then we're not receiving that information. So don't ever feel, first of all, that whatever career path you're in, whatever relationship you're in, that it's too late to make a change. You know, you're always evolving, right? As human beings, we're always evolving. We should always be learning. You could be 30 years in a career and say, you know what, I want to do something different. I could speak personally for myself. Being in administration for many years, I wanted to make a change. I wanted to make a pivot. I said, you know what, I want to do something different. Title was great and all, but a title is just a title. I want to be more back on the ground in the front line and working directly with the youth. So from the day work that we do in our high school to the evening, afternoon, and weekend work that we do here with teens under construction, we see that meaningful impact. And we implore you, we encourage you, it's not too late to make that change. Because once you get to a position where that you just don't want to go to work, or you get to a position where that you don't want to be in a relationship with that person, but you just keep doing it because that's what you're used to, that doesn't breed happiness. And are you going to have headaches at work? Absolutely. Are you going to have headaches in your relationship? Is that again?
I had a few headaches today.
and it happens, right? Because it's natural. You're not going to go to work every day and say, wow, this is an awesome day. If it is, you know, that's great. But every position, every relationship comes with its challenges, right? It's just that, what are you willing to tolerate? And not just tolerate, is it acceptable? Because there's so many people that live life that say, I wish I could have, I should have, I would have, but I didn't. And that's the problem, right? It's not about, you want to start growing yourself. And like I said, never feel that you're complacent. Never be complacent in where you're at. Always challenge yourself to grow.
So to that note, right, in talking about, being comfortable with being uncomfortable, right, just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I don't understand what you're saying. I think we go through that and we've had that discussion before, right? You want to re-explain it, and it's like sometimes I get it and I still don't agree with you, right, but we can still continue to have this conversation. I think we get so caught up in the need of someone agreeing with us that we feel like we have to sell what we're saying to someone. And even going back to some of the stuff that Shamar had mentioned, right, thinking about, changing that format in a classroom, right? Like, you might be used to your old teaching ways, and I'm sure that they're great and they might have worked for some students, but when you think about having up to 30 youth in one room, right, when they're all sitting in rows and everyone has to pay attention, you have 30 kids that learn 30 different ways with a teacher that's teaching in one learning manner. That's really complicated for some kids, and I can talk to that. I'm a very visual and hands-on kind of person. You talk to me and I might just walk away not really taking what you were trying to get to me. because I need more of that hands on and that visual need. So sometimes it's about, right, again, being uncomfortable with changing the perspective of a room. I know I've done some trainings where, you know, you have 3 different settings in a room. You have a circle, you have a line of computers, and then you have individual learning spaces, right? Because kids all learn differently. And sometimes we have to move away from that and just bringing that back to what we do as far as therapy, right? And thinking about hip hop therapy and involving graffiti and involving breakdancing and MCing and DJing, right? And all of those elements of hip hop, right? We had to push the envelope, and sometimes it's uncomfortable, right? You come into a space and you talk and hip hop therapy this, and they're looking at you like, oh yeah, but look at this crap they're playing on the radio, and it's like, right, but that's what they want you to listen to, right? There's more than to what's being played on the radio. And it's about being able to be put into a different perspective, right? We take kids to the studio, which is uncomfortable for them because they've never been there. And even though they had this amazing talent, they never had this opportunity, and really allowing them to be uncomfortable for that moment. It's amazing to see them transform and come out of those studio booths just feeling amazing about what they just accomplished. And that's just to talk about how comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's absolutely necessary to be able to proceed.
And even with that being said, we challenge parents as well, and we challenge educators to say, well, you know, the music that the kids are listening to now is not real music, but they're listening to it for a reason.
Right.
So we challenge people to get a little bit uncomfortable and start listening to what your child is listening to. Listen to what your students listen to, because there are messages. There's messages in music. No matter what genre of music, there's a message in it, and there's a reason young people are listening to it. So when we take flight next week to Cali, you know, this is what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on education and hip hop, and how do you infuse this into your classroom. It doesn't matter what era you were born in. If you're really there for your students, if you're there for the children, get very comfortable with seeing what they're listening to. Get to understand. Develop this piece called cultural competence, and understand where your young people are coming from, because every face, every smile comes with a story. In order to get to know the story, you have to give the young people the platform. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we're not going to hold you too much longer, but we do want you to know that we challenge you. Challenge you to do something different. Challenge you to be that change agent. Challenge you not to fall in line with everyone else. You know, everyone's going down this way, why don't you go down that way? You can be that agent of change. You can be that person that make a difference. As we close up, Ms. Yogi, is there anything you want to tell the audience?
Yes, I always believe in taking the path, you know, less traveled. You know, everyone's going this way and people are going that way. I'm a believer of making my own lane, and that's a lot of the work that we do. We've created our own lane, and the good thing about being in your own lane is there's not that much traffic.
Facts. And until next time, remember, get your mind right.
Get your mind right.